Okay. Well, the question is if I can explain the differences between a ceremonial pipe and a personal pipe, and also to explain how does a personal pipe become a ceremonial pipe, because sometimes that happens. Okay. So this is my first pipe. This is a personal pipe. I had this pipe for 10 years. Let's see if you can see it. It's it's carved out of deer antler, the bowl, and it has a porcupine on it, carved on it.
Well,
And here's the stem. It's made out of sumac, so it's a tree here in America. I think you have it over there. That is, you can hollow it out real easy. It has a very soft center, and you can just run a coat hanger through it, and it makes the hole. And the feathers, which you can see, this is probably almost 40 years old now, are made up of two different types of birds, crow feathers and hawk feathers. And the reason
wow.
they're on here together is because they're opposing forces. The crows fight against the hawks, and the hawks fight against the crows. And so to bring the balance between the two, I put them together on the pipe. And this pipe has been retired for quite a few years, meaning that it just sits on my altar. And I don't use it in ceremonies anymore. But every once in a while, I'll be walking past my altar, and this pipe will call to me and say, use me. And I will. And I found that the power of this pipe is equal to the power of the other pipes that I have. And I'm going to show you a ceremonial pipe here next. But like I said, I had this pipe. Well, I was sitting out in the woods on some property I used to own. And I got a message from the tree that I was sitting against. And it said, make a sacred pipe and use it for prayers. And my response was, what's a sacred pipe? I didn't know. So I went to a trading post, and I talked to an old elder there, Ottawa from the Ottawa tribe. And he told me that I couldn't make a pipestone bowl out of the stone, the red stone, because he says, you don't know what you're doing. And so, excuse me, I made this one out of the deer antler, and I felt really good using it. And it worked very well for me and for my kids sometimes. And over the 10-year period, I learned from my own cellular memory from my heritage. I didn't learn from any person on how to do a pipe ceremony. I didn't know what a pipe ceremony was. I just knew I was supposed to pray with it. So I did that. But then after 10 years, I was given a gift, presented with a ceremonial pipe, which you've seen. It's the one I just came back from Germany with. And this was presented to me, and I won't go into the big long story about it, but it had been out traveling around for 21 years when it came to me, and it was presented to me by a very high-ranking spiritual person that was in Tibetan Buddhism. And really good story there, but we don't have time for it now. But this is the United Nations turtle pipe. You can see the little turtles. Those are carved out of pipestone, and there's 4 of them on the stem, and they're all traveling the same direction. And of course, I'm not going to put the pipe together, because if I did, I'd have to start a ceremony. Once you put a pipe together, you have to do the ceremony. So here's, let's see there, yeah. Here's the bowl, and it's all red pipestone. These turtles here are all red pipestone embedded into the wood. And this is obviously a much bigger pipe. But all ceremonial pipes are not necessarily bigger. Um, and this one was carved by my elder Adam Fortunate Eagle. I carved a pipe, a black thunder pipe for one of my elders here, and it's about the same size as my original pipe, and it's carved out of black steatite or black pipestone, and it has inlaid in the it's a thunderbird, it's a flying thunderbird, and it has a blue turquoise inlay on one wing with a thunderbolt, and then on the other wing it's got a red pipestone inlay, and it's a small pipe, but he has been using that in ceremony because it was made as a ceremonial pipe for almost 2 decades, I'm thinking. And he does he's quite a bit older than me. And so he does a lot of crossing over ceremonies for people that are either close to death or have crossed over. He does a lot of healing ceremonies with it. And he also works with the thunder beings because it is a thunder pipe. So that's an example of a pipe that was carved for a specific purpose, not for a specific person. And so it's not always a great big long pipe that is a ceremonial pipe. If you have the connection to the spirit helpers, you can do a ceremony as if it's a ceremonial pipe. And that's how, when I carve a pipe for somebody, it's usually carved as a personal pipe. But there's always the ability of the spirit of the pipe when we do the awakening ceremony, when it comes into the pipe, there's always the chance for that person to grow in maturity and responsibility amongst their group, their tribe, their village, or whatever it is. And as they grow in the maturity, and that maturity could be equal to suppressing their ego, so they're not coming from an ego place.
Yes.
Then that pipe can become a ceremonial pipe, and it can be used for group ceremonies. The little owl pipe that I had when I was over there, it was a ceremonial pipe that I was using, but it's given to Verena as a personal pipe for her to learn with. But if after she's worked with it for a year or so, I really believe it'll become the pipe of that group. So she can be doing the ceremonies with that group. So is that pretty clear? Do I need to clarify
yes,
that?
I understand.
Okay, good. Well, good.
Yes, I understand. But you mean the teachings, the long time you need, which you write in your book, to have a ceremonial pipe is about suppressing not suppressing, to bring down your ego and to have a very good connection to the spirit. So that means the years of learning which you write in your book.
Well, back when I wrote the book, that's what it took. But as you know, and who did I just share that with? Anyhow, oh, I know. There's a video out there which I am not real happy with because it was very poorly done. Not that the information isn't good, but in there I explained how once at Pipestone there was a elder from Canada, a Métis medicine man, and he took me aside and he said, through a translator, he asked me, how long does it take you to teach somebody the pipe? And then they're finally ready to go with it. And I said, well, probably a year. And he said, no more. He says, we're losing the way of the pipe. And he says, you have to start teaching it not just to one person at a time, but you can teach it to groups and you can teach them the basics. And he says, as soon as they've got it, they need to be out using their pipes, not for big ceremonies with lots of people, but to be using them to get used to it. And then the whole idea of a year, it all depends on how much you use the pipe and how often you pray with it and your interaction with the spirits. So, well, in my book, there's several things that have changed over the years. Photographing the pipe, like what you just did here with Zoom. That's changed. The amount of time it takes to learn about the pipe is changed. It's been condensed. It's still best, I think, for like I have a student here who's now a pipe holder doing her own public ceremonies. But I spent a year meeting with her once a week, and we either did pipe ceremony or did other things, and it's kind of the best way to learn. But nowadays we're losing the pipe quickly, the way of the pipe. I've told you that most of our elders that are part of the keepers are gone. They're all dead.
Yes.
And Ken, my elder right up here, the one that has the little black thunder pipe, he's doing okay physically, but he's, I think, in his late 80s. And
Wow.
So and that's the big topic we have coming up with a meeting in May with the leaders of the keepers from Pipestone. And we're talking about, what do we do? How do we continue to pass this information on? I personally feel that making recordings and making those available is a very good way to do it. The problem, as we know, is you don't know who's going to get it and what their motivation is going to be. So,
but I think also it belongs also to this, that the whole teaching will be known. Maybe there is a short way, but I think it's also necessary to know the long way for people.
Well, that's what I'm hoping is that wherever I've gone, whatever country, and I teach a bunch of people, but there's always someone like you or Verena, Ludmilla, these different people, this guy named Dirk. These are people that they've taken very seriously the responsibility of caring for a pipe. And I've told them that they can teach the pipe. And that's because those particular people, you included, have a really good heart. And you want to use the pipe to benefit people, not to benefit yourself. That doesn't mean you don't pray for yourself. You certainly do use the pipe for whatever you need. But and I could talk about examples, no names, of course, of people in different countries, Australia, Germany, that have taken the teachings that I've given them and have turned them into something very self-serving. Now, I don't worry about that because the pipe they have, it will, and that's, I'm seeing it happen. So, and that's where there's a whole nother teaching about not trying to influence the outcome of things with the power of your connection to spirit, about letting go of it and just allowing it to be. There was once the Thunder Beings told me that I was thinking, what'll happen if the outcome of this huge ceremony, real important ceremony down in Australia, what happens if nothing happens? And the Thunder Beings spoke and told me, they said, it's not your responsibility. It's our responsibility. And so that's one of the times that I learned to let go of what happens with the outcome. And the other times, 2 times, is where I was trying to project some things on people to punish them. And I've only done this twice in my life, and I learned a very hard lesson. You never do that. Everything you send out has to be from a heart of love. Even if you're angry at somebody, whatever you send out will come back to you or someone close to you or pet or whatever 10 times stronger. So if people are sending out bad juju, and it's always justified. I was so justified in what I tried to send out, but what happened is it came back 10 times stronger to my daughter, like within hours. And so I had to learn that whatever we're doing with spiritual power, the pipes, our connection with our spirit helpers, whatever we do, and interaction that we have, and when we call on them for assistance and help to co-create something, we need to leave it up to them and their bigger vision of everything. And this brings a tremendous peace of in your heart, because when you're not
Mm.
worrying about the outcome, and you already knew that you did your part to send the energy out from a through a ceremony, then your responsibility as a human is done. If the
But
thunder
that's
beings, yeah.
but this is also a very hard lesson to learn, I think, that you are
Well,
not responsible to.
well, the yeah, the reason I learned that lesson is because the the negativity that I sent out towards my ex-wife and her boyfriend, I was in my mind, I was perfectly justified. Oh, look at them! Look at oh, they need some humility. They need and so I literally sent this energy out, and it's something that I learned from Mary Running Deer, and she even warned me never use this for something like that. But I was so justified in my mind because they were so bad. Um, and it, but what happened is the energy that I sent came back within a couple hours to my daughter, and she called me up like I don't know 2:30 in the morning. I was on the road traveling, and she was crying. She's Dad, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. I think they're going to get in a big physical fight. They're blah blah blah. So I sent the energy out, and it created what I was thinking. But I needed to be unattached to that outcome and just put out the energy of nothing specific, like, oh, let this happen to them or that happen. So when we do a pipe ceremony as a personal pipe, we should always make sure that our ego is not involved. We're not thinking we're really somebody because we've got this great big special pipe. Um, we're actually humbled in our heart to be the caretaker of such a special pipe. And you know, we have to have that attitude. And if you do have that attitude, then the power of your pipe, your personal pipe, or if it becomes a ceremonial pipe, or you receive a ceremonial pipe that's been carved to be that, if you have that attitude and you leave the outcome up to whatever spirit your pipe has, or the spirit helpers you're calling on, then the result will be perfect. The
Yes.
second time I did it, and I've told you these stories, so I won't tell them. But there was a guy that was using Sundance ceremonies to promote himself, and he was living off of people for free. I mean, like going and living at their house for 2, 3 months because he was a Sundancer, and everybody thought, well, if he's a Sundancer, oh, he's like a holy man and all these things. But this guy, he really was a pretty bad guy. I mean, he was like, you probably don't have this term, but in California, we have a term called a surfing bum. And that means somebody who lives on the beach, doesn't have a job, and lives off of everybody else because they're a surfer, on the ocean waves.
And
And so they're really cool. And so everybody gives them food, gives them money, gives them stuff and they just live off of everybody because the people think they're really cool. Well, this guy was a Sundance bum. He was just going from house to house and living off of people. And he did something to me. He and somebody did something to me that really made me angry. And so I justified the idea that I could send a negative energy to him through something that I had learned from Mary Running Deer ceremony. And I was totally justified because he was such a bad person. He deserves it. And this time, the Thunder Beings came to me in a big storm, and I had a fire going, and the Thunder Being said, "You don't know the whole picture, the full picture of what you're asking. There's more to it than what you know. And if you send this out, it's going to come back." And they reminded me of my daughter. It's going to come back on you or somebody or something you love 10 times stronger. And I'm like, oh man, I wanted to do this guy, and it was like, no, I'm going to turn it over to the Thunder Beings to do what I was thinking about. And it turned out that they saw the big picture and they answered with a huge storm that went to the Sundance that he was at. Nobody got hurt, but there was a downburst of wind that flattened all the teepees, all the tents, just everything, shut everything down. And that wasn't saying anything was bad about the Sundance itself. You know, they put everything back together, but I think that the leaders of the Sundance had kind of a warning: hey, something's not right here. And so they were
Yes.
careful. So, but if I had sent it to him personally, it would have gone to him. It would have caused problems in his life, but it would have come back on me or my loved ones. And I was willing to just take what I had and put it in the fire. It was a sweat lodge fire, and just release it and say, okay, I'm not sending anything out. I'm just going to leave it up to the spirits to take care of it. And it was a perfect answer that didn't hurt anybody. So that's why I say when we work with the pipe, the sacred pipe, the pipe is the leader of the dance of life. We're the follower. And of course, that's all part of a whole nother teaching. But so is there more that I need to clarify about that?
No, I don't think I have in my mind only that also the good things are hard lessons to learn. If you wish that a person will heal, you make a pipe ceremony for someone you want them to heal. It's also your ego. You don't must be bad. It can also come from your heart, and you feel that nothing happened,
Mm-hmm.
and that you learn. Also for me it was a hard teaching not to understand it's not my responsibility if the person, if I can heal the person or if something good will happen. It's not my responsibility. It's all in spirit's responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one. That's a huge step forward.
Yeah.
People can realize, and I have the other teachings about what what the human responsibility is in the whole dance of life or the whole circle of life. One of our main responsibilities, well, our main responsibility is to take care of the earth and not destroy
Yes.
it. But one of the main responsibilities of human beings is to be able to do ceremonies wherever they are, whatever culture, to create the energy for the rest of the universe, the angels, the spirits of the bear. See your earrings there. You got Yona the bear on. And yeah, it's the responsibility of the spirit beings, or like I said, like the angels, whatever you want to call them. That's their responsibility to take that energy that we create through the pipe ceremony. And when we blow that smoke out there, we're sending that energy, that thought, and that energy out. And the spirits pick that up. And then it's up to them to mold it into a reality that will be the answer. And as we said before, sometimes the answer is no, we're not going to do anything. Or they'll give us an answer like with the traveling pipe ceremony, where we had tremendous downpour of rain about breaking a drought in Texas. But that wasn't the answer. The answer was, yes, we heard you. And yes, we, the Thunder Beings, can bring the rain. And here it is, tremendous rain. But then the rest of it was, but we're not going to break the drought because it's a lesson for humans. So,
Yes.
and also the other part about if you don't see any results at all, and this happens quite often, you'll do the ceremony, you'll put it out there. There's one man I know, he's Lakota, and he uses the same prayer over and over and over again with his pipe, and he gets an answer, even from the elders. And they tell him, this is what you need to do. But he doesn't like what they tell him he needs to do. So he does another pipe ceremony and another one and another one. And he keeps sending it out there. And he doesn't get what the answer he wants. And so his prayers don't have a lot of power because he's ignoring the advice that comes from the very first one. And so the amount of ceremonies we do doesn't make it stronger. Once we do one ceremony, that's got the energy out there now. if your pipe then tells you in a week or a month, do it again, put it out there again, then fine. But it's not like the number of prayers that we put out doesn't add strength to the request or anything. So,
and sometimes I understand the answer first 3 months later or so.
well, and sometimes that's the other thing. Timing is everything when it comes to spirits and working with the spirits. That's why I always tell people, wait for the intuition, wait for the message from your pipe to say, hey, let's do a ceremony. You might not even know what it's about, but your pipe just tugs at your heart. You're walking by and, oh, catches your attention. It's okay. So we do a ceremony. If all we're doing is being thankful, that's fine. Thanks is really important and good. But sometimes the pipe will tell us, hey, we need to do a ceremony. And while you're doing the ceremony, all of a sudden you'll realize what is the purpose of the ceremony. What are we asking for? What are we trying to co-create with the spirits of the pipe and the spirit helpers? So I'm fortunate because most of my work with the thunder pipe and the turtle pipe and even my bear pipe, I get really strong results. And something that you mentioned to me that's important to mention here is that I did ceremonies for 10 years and I got answers, but no big thing. No, I mean, once there was a tornado, that was pretty interesting, but I won't tell the story. That was a big thing. But I spent 10 years working with the pipe, respecting the pipe, learning to listen to the pipe until finally, after 10 years, then I was presented with the turtle pipe. And after that point, that's when I started getting the results around the world. I mean, many, many places, really big results in the weather, in nature, in the skies. So I'm not sure what to say about that. Is it me that grew up and changed? Or is it the fact that I had a pipe that has been used in ceremony many places? I'm not really sure what the answer is, but I do believe that my own spiritual maturity was important for me to be able to do these ceremonies and get the results that we do. Mary Running Deer told me when I got the Black Thunder pipe and I took it to her and I showed it to her, and she says, you can't use this pipe. She says only a medicine man or medicine woman can use this pipe, although I'm not a medicine man. I never claimed to be. I'm not. I'm a pipe caretaker of the sacred pipe. But she told me, you can't use this pipe in ceremony until you have the balance in your life of your male aspect and your female aspect, your masculine and your feminine. And it took 3 years of me caring for that pipe every day, smudging it with smoke and never putting it together. Took me, well, more than 3 years until I finally felt like I had gotten to the point where I was ready to use it. And the first time I used it, I got in a big wreck with my Jeep. It flipped my Jeep over and totaled it. Thankfully, I didn't get hurt that bad, but it was a message that I probably wasn't ready yet. And I had taken it upon myself to say, oh, I'm ready. So it took a while longer, probably about another year. And the first ceremony I did with the Black Thunder pipe was for the buffalo herd up in on the Flathead Reservation north of me here. There's a wild buffalo herd, and it is fenced in, but it's thousands of acres. They're just left to roam wild. And the Salish Kootenai tribe has responsibility for caring for those buffalo. And it was springtime, and I felt that I needed to do a ceremony to bless the young buffalo calves that were going to be born and ask for a really good season of lots of rain and grass growing for those buffalo. And actually, that's exactly what happened. But see, I wasn't doing that for myself. I'll admit that the ceremony I did with the pipe the first time, it was about myself. Now, I use that pipe, that Black Thunder pipe, to pray for myself. but oh, Bussard, a red-tailed hawk.
Ah, well,
It's calling out. I don't know if I can see it or not, but oh, yeah, it's right back here. I don't know if you can hear it, but now I've got something over here that's all upset, but it's not a hawk or a Bussard. Anyhow, um, yeah. So that I pay attention to nature because it's usually a message, and this message is probably that we probably shared enough for this particular time. Do you think there's more that I can add to this that would make it a fuller, more complete?
now not, no.
No. Okay. Well, I'm going to burn some more sage, and the reason I'm doing that is I'm thanking the Cloud Nation and everything for the good weather, because I was really worried when that fire was going day before yesterday. And I'm really grateful for the clear air. Oh, my house filled up with the smoke. It was so close. But so what I found is if I offer smoke up,
Oh, wow, it's, yes.
it's a way of saying thank you. And it would help if I had a book of matches. This is the book of matches that I'm getting ready to light. I don't think that's going to work. So instead, I'll use the other matches. I wasn't able to bring those really cool matches that I got from Christiana. I wasn't able to bring them back because you couldn't fly with them.
Oh,
Those were the
no, that's it.
greatest matches for a pipe ceremony. They were really long, they lit really well, and then when you put it out, you could use it as a pipe tamper because
Yes.
it was really great. And I gave them to Paul, my friend Paul,
Oh,
came
nice, yes.
gave me the ride to the airport. So one of the things we learned here from the Thunder Pipe was every day it's important to send up some smoke. And where I live here, the lightning can start a fire anywhere in those mountains just like that. And I was praying about it one day, and the thunder being said, the people aren't honoring us with smoke. They're not sending up sage and sweetgrass or whatever, or bifus, to just send a little bit up every day. And they said that the trees that were burning up were sending up the smoke that we humans were supposed to send up. Now that could be turned into a rule. Oh, every day you've got to burn sage, but that's
Yes.
not what it's so. Okay, well, I'm going to stop the recording. Let me do that first. Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah, thank you.